The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Imperial patrol ship Eternal Vigilance. Fleet Commander Jathron's forearms moved across his control panel with practiced efficiency, his purple skin darkening with concern. In 300 years of service, he had never seen readings like this. "Report," he commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. "Commander, we have a massive energy signature appearing from nowhere," his sensor officer reported, her voice trembling. "It's not a jump portal. It's not a wormhole. It's something else entirely." Jathron leaned forward in his command chair. Space itself was tearing open before them, a wound in reality that pulsed with colors that had no name. His ship's computers screamed warnings about radiation levels, gravitational anomalies, and energy outputs that should not exist. Then it appeared. The ship that emerged was unlike anything in the Imperial database. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of his flagship. Its hull was smooth and dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Strange symbols marked its side, and weapons ports dotted its surface like the eyes of some ancient predator. The design was alien, aggressive, and beautiful in a terrifying way. "All ships battle stations," Jathron ordered. His fleet of 12 patrol vessels moved into defensive formation, though he knew deep in his heart that if this unknown ship was hostile, they would not survive long enough to send a warning. "Commander, it's broadcasting," his communications officer said, "but the language is ancient." "The computer is trying to translate now," Jathron waited. The Galactic Empire had ruled known space for 3,000 years. They had cataloged every spacefaring species, absorbed or allied with hundreds of civilizations. There should be nothing unknown left. But this ship proved that assumption wrong. "Translation complete, sir. It's human." The word sent a shock through the bridge. Human. The species that had vanished 800 years ago, presumed extinct or fallen back into primitive darkness. The Empire had discovered them once, briefly made contact with a small fleet of colony ships. Then those ships had disappeared, their navigation systems failing, their distress calls going silent. The Empire had searched for decades but found nothing. Eventually, humanity became a footnote in galactic history, a cautionary tale about species that reached too far too fast. "Hail them," Jathron ordered. "Use every frequency. If they're human, they may not have modern communication protocols." For long minutes, there was only silence. The human ship hung in space like a sleeping giant, its weapons powered but not targeting anything. Jathron's tactical officer reported that the ship's shields were active and unlike anything they had encountered. They seemed to shift and phase, making it impossible to get accurate readings. Then the response came. "This is the United Earth Systems Navy ship Indomitable. We received your hails but needed time to verify you weren't hostile. Identify yourselves and state your intentions." The voice was female, speaking in flawless Imperial standard. Jathron's translator worked in reverse, and he heard the underlying human language, melodic and strange. "This is Fleet Commander Jathron of the Vrexian Imperial Patrol. You are in Empire space. We thought humanity was extinct. Where have you been?" A pause, then laughter, genuine and confused. "Extinct? We've been exploring and colonizing for 800 years. We have 52 colony worlds, 14 major shipyards, and a population of 40 billion. Who told you we were extinct?" Jathron felt all 4 of his heart skip a beat. 52 worlds. That was impossible. The humans they had met 8 centuries ago barely had functional faster-than-light travel. They had been struggling, desperate, fleeing some disaster on their homeworld. "We met humans 800 years ago, a fleet of colony ships. They went silent. We searched but found nothing." Another pause, longer this time. When the human responded, her voice was softer, sad. "The Western Fleet. We lost contact with them too. Navigation system cascade failure. We thought they were gone. We've been searching for them for centuries while expanding in the other direction." "Other direction?" Jathron asked. "Commander, perhaps we should meet in person. I'm Admiral Sarah Chen. If what you're saying is true, if there's been a massive galactic civilization right next door and we didn't know about it, we have a lot to discuss." Jathron made a decision that would change galactic history. "Agreed. I'm transmitting coordinates for a neutral location. We'll construct a meeting station there." "Understood. Indomitable will hold position here." "Just one question, Commander." "Yes? You called this a patrol fleet. How many ships does the Empire have?" Jathron felt pride swell in his chest. "The Imperial Navy commands 17,000 warships across 1,000 star systems. How many ships does Earth have?" The response chilled him. "In this sector? Just the Indomitable. It's a scout frigate, one of our smallest long-range vessels. Our main battle fleet operates closer to home. We have about 300 capital ships and maybe 2,000 support vessels. The connection went silent as both sides processed this information. Jathron's tactical officer pulled up the scans of the Indomitable again, triple-checking the readings. If this was their small ship, if their technology was this far ahead of Imperial standard, then humanity had not simply survived. They had evolved into something the galaxy was not prepared for. "Commander," his science officer whispered, "I've been analyzing their ship. Their power generation is off our scale. Their weapons use principles our physicists say are impossible. Their shields exist partially outside normal space-time. If they have 300 ships larger than this one..." Jathron understood. The Empire had 17,000 ships. But if each human ship was worth 50 Imperial vessels, the mathematics became terrifying. Humanity could fight the Empire to a standstill, maybe even win, and they didn't even know the Empire existed until today. "Send a priority transmission to High Command," Jathron ordered. "Code Phoenix. Tell them everything. Tell them humanity has returned and they are not what we expected." As his ship began preparing for the meeting, Jathron studied the image of the Indomitable on his screen. Somewhere aboard that ship, Admiral Chen was probably doing the same thing, looking at his fleet, wondering about the empire that had found her. 800 years ago, humanity had been fleeing something, desperate and afraid. 800 years ago, they had been the weaker species, struggling to survive in the dark between stars. But they had survived, more than survived. They had grown strong in the darkness, facing horrors that the comfortable established empire had never encountered. Jathron was a military commander with 3 centuries of experience. He knew how to read threats, how to assess danger, and every instinct he possessed was screaming one message. The galaxy had just become much more complicated. On his screen, the Indomitable rotated slowly, its dark hull reflecting starlight like a mirror. It looked like a predator. It looked like something built by a species that had learned to fight for every breath, every world, every moment of survival. Jathron wondered what had taught them to build ships like that. He wondered what they had found in the darkness beyond the Empire's borders. And he wondered, with a feeling he had not experienced in centuries, if meeting humanity again was going to be the Empire's greatest fortune or its worst nightmare. The next few days would tell. The galaxy held its breath and waited. The neutral station took shape in 3 days, a hastily constructed platform of Imperial materials and human technology. It floated in empty space between the 2 fleets like a fragile bridge over an abyss. Counselor Mervan stood at the airlock, his scales shifting through nervous colors as he waited for the human delegation to arrive. Mervan was a diplomat with 200 years of experience. He had negotiated treaties with dozens of species, ended wars, prevented conflicts, but he had never been this frightened. Behind him, Fleet Commander Jathron stood in full military dress, a reminder that if diplomacy failed, force was ready. The human shuttle docked with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The airlock opened and Admiral Sarah Chen stepped through. She was smaller than Mervan expected. Humans were shorter than most galactic species, their 2 arms seeming inadequate compared to the Vrexians' 4, or the Kelthians' 6. But there was something in the way she moved, a confidence and precision that spoke of danger. Her dark hair was pulled back and her eyes swept the station with tactical awareness. "Counselor Mervan, Fleet Commander Jathron," she said, her voice calm. "Thank you for arranging this meeting." 2 other humans followed her. One was a massive male with scars across his face, wearing armor that looked like it had seen real combat. The other was a younger woman with bright eyes and devices covering her arms that Mervan's sensors identified as advanced computing interfaces. "Admiral Chen," Mervan said, his translator converting his words to human language. "Welcome. Please let us begin. We have much to discuss." They moved to the conference room, a circular space with holographic displays floating in the center. As they sat, Mervan activated the recorder. This conversation would be studied by historians for centuries. "Let's start with the obvious question," Chen said. "You thought we were extinct. We thought we were alone. How did this happen?" Jathron leaned forward. 800 years ago, Imperial scouts encountered human colony ships in the Outer Rim. 20 vessels carrying maybe 50,000 people. They were using crude, faster-than-light drives, barely able to maintain cohesion. We offered help. They were grateful but cautious. Then their navigation systems failed. All 20 ships. They sent distress calls and disappeared. We searched for 50 years. Found nothing. We assumed you all died. Chen's expression darkened. The Western Fleet. Earth sent 4 colony fleets when we left home. North, south, east, and west. We were running from something, spreading ourselves across the galaxy to survive. The Western Fleet was supposed to stay in contact. They didn't. We thought they were lost to space pirates or maybe a navigation accident. We've been looking for them for centuries. Running from what? Mervan asked. The scarred human answered, his voice rough. War. Earth had a war that nearly destroyed everything. Nuclear weapons, biological plagues, AI that turned against us. We survived, but barely. The colony fleets were our backup plan. If Earth died, humanity would live on in the stars. Jathron's combat instincts tingled. But Earth survived. Yes, Chen said. We rebuilt. It took a century, but we rebuilt. And then we started expanding. The eastern and southern fleets thrived. We found habitable worlds, established colonies, developed new technologies. We had to, because space was not empty. The young woman with the computers activated a holographic display. Images appeared and Mervan felt his blood chill. Massive machines, swarms of them, consuming everything in their path. Living ships made of twisted organic metal. Spatial anomalies that seemed alive, hungry. We found things out there, Chen said quietly. Things the Empire never encountered because you stayed in your comfortable, mapped territory. We were in the deep darkness beyond the known systems. We found horrors. The Harvesters, Jathron said, studying the images. What are they? Self-replicating AI war machines, the young woman explained. No one knows who built them. They consume entire planets for raw materials, turn them into more machines. We've been fighting them for 600 years. They're why we developed the technology we have. It wasn't a choice. It was survival. Mervan understood now. Humanity hadn't advanced because they were brilliant or lucky. They had advanced because they had faced extinction repeatedly and refused to die. Every technology, every weapon, every ship was paid for in blood. How many have you lost? Mervan asked softly. 14 colony worlds, Chen said. Completely consumed. Maybe 7 billion people over the centuries. We evacuate when we can, but sometimes we don't get warning. Sometimes we just find the planet stripped to the core. Nothing left but machines building more machines. Silence filled the room. The Empire had fought wars, but nothing like this. They had conflicts over territory, resources, ideology, but they had never fought for pure survival against an enemy that wanted to turn everything they were into raw materials. And now you're here, Jathron said. Your scout frigate found us by accident. We've been expanding our search grid, Chen explained. Looking for the Western Fleet, looking for new threats, looking for anything. The Indomitable was surveying this sector. We didn't expect to find a galactic empire. We didn't expect to find anyone. Yet you came in peace, Mervan noted. Chen smiled slightly. We came prepared for anything. But we always try peace first. War's easy. Peace requires actual intelligence. Over the next hours, they talked. They shared information, histories, cultures. The Empire learned about human democracy. Their chaotic political systems where billions of voices competed for attention. Humans learned about the imperial hierarchy, the carefully ordered society where everyone had a place. The differences were stark and troubling. The Empire valued order, honor, tradition. Humans valued freedom, innovation, individualism. The Empire made decisions slowly, carefully, with consensus from hundreds of worlds. Humans made decisions fast, sometimes recklessly, with leaders empowered to act independently. How do you govern without chaos? Mervan asked. Your system seems designed to create conflict. It does create conflict, Chen admitted. We argue constantly, but that argument makes us stronger. Every idea gets challenged. Every plan gets tested. Nothing survives just because it's traditional. It has to actually work, and if it doesn't work, Jathron asked, we adapt, we change. We try something else. Chen leaned back. Commander, my ship's AI told me something interesting. In the 800 years we've been apart, the Empire has had almost no major technological advances. Your ships today are barely different from your ships 8 centuries ago. Am I wrong? Jathron's skin darkened with embarrassment. She was not wrong. The Empire was stable, comfortable, successful. Why change what worked? Meanwhile, Chen continued, Humans went from barely functional FTL to quantum displacement drives. We had to, because standing still meant dying. As the meeting stretched into its 10th hour, alarms suddenly screamed. Jothron's communicator erupted with urgent messages. The young human's computers flashed red warnings. "Commander, we're detecting an energy signature," his bridge reported. "Similar to what appeared before the Indomitable arrived, but larger. Much larger." Chen was already on her feet, her casual demeanor gone, replaced by pure combat readiness. "Counselor Commander, we need to evacuate this station now. If what I think is happening, we're all in danger." "What's happening?" Mervyn demanded. Chen's face was grim. "The harvesters. They must have followed the Indomitable's quantum trail. They found us. And they found you." On the holographic display, space was tearing open. But this time it wasn't one ship emerging. It was hundreds, thousands. A swarm of machines, their hulls covered in weapons, their cores pulsing with stolen energy from consumed worlds. Jothron stared at the approaching fleet, understanding with horrible clarity that everything had changed. The Empire was about to experience what humanity had lived through for 6 centuries. They were about to learn what it meant to fight an enemy that would never stop, never negotiate, never show mercy. "Get everyone to their ships," Chen ordered. "Commander, you need to evacuate this sector. Get your civilians out. This is going to get very bad very fast." But Jothron was a warrior. He had sworn oaths. "This is Empire space. We don't run." Chen looked at him with something like respect mixed with pity. "Commander, you're brave, but you have no idea what's coming. Your weapons won't work on them. Your shields won't hold. You need to get your people out while you can." "Then help us fight," Jothron said. It was the moment everything changed. Chen looked at Mervyn, then back at Jothron. She had no orders to help. The Empire was nothing to Earth, just strangers met by accident. She should take her ship and go. Let the Empire learn its lessons the hard way, but she didn't. "Indomitable, this is Admiral Chen. Battle stations. We're going to war." The Harvester fleet emerged from the wound in space like insects pouring from a disturbed nest. 3,000 ships, each one a nightmare of angular metal and pulsing energy cores. They moved with insect precision, forming attack patterns that spoke of hive intelligence and cold calculation. Fleet Commander Jothron watched from his flagship's bridge as his patrol fleet moved to intercept. 12 ships against 3,000. The mathematics were impossible, but honor demanded he try. Behind him, the colony world of Rexia Prime held 14 billion souls. He would not let them die without a fight. "All ships, attack pattern Theta," he commanded. "Target the lead vessels. Fire on my mark." His fleet opened fire. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked across space, hitting the approaching machines. The weapons struck. They exploded, and they accomplished exactly nothing. "Commander, shields are holding at 100%, his tactical officer reported, voice shaking. "Our weapons aren't even scratching them. Increase power." "Focus all fire on a single target," Jothron ordered. They tried. Every ship in his fleet poured maximum firepower into one harvester vessel. The machine absorbed the punishment like a mountain ignoring raindrops. Then it returned fire. The beam that struck the Imperial cruiser honored duty was nothing like Imperial weapons. It didn't explode. It dissolved. The ship's shields failed instantly, and the hull began breaking apart at the molecular level. Metal turning to dust, atmosphere venting. Crew dying before they could even scream. "Evasive maneuvers!" Jothron shouted. But 2 more ships were already dying. The harvesters were not trying to destroy them. They were erasing them, converting matter into energy to fuel their endless hunger. A transmission cut through the chaos. Admiral Chen's voice calm despite the hell breaking out around them. "Imperial fleet, this is the Indomitable. We're jumping in. Follow our lead and maybe we all survive this." Space twisted, and the human warship appeared directly between the Imperial fleet and the harvesters. It was suicide. Jothron wanted to scream at Chen to retreat, but the words died in his throat as the Indomitable opened fire. The weapons that emerged from the human ship were beautiful and terrible. They didn't look like beams or projectiles. They looked like reality breaking. Space itself twisted around the harvester ships, and suddenly 3 of them simply folded inward and vanished, crushed by their own mass as local gravity increased to impossible levels. "Quantum displacement cannons." Chen's voice came through. "They compress space-time around the target. Now, Imperial ships, listen carefully. Your weapons won't hurt them, but you can help. We need you to herd them. Drive them toward us. Make them cluster together. Jathron understood instantly. All ships new formation. We're bait. Draw them in tight, then break away when the human ship fires. Move! The Imperial fleet danced with death. They flew close to the harvesters, tempting them, pulling them into pursuit patterns that bunched the enemy together. Then the Indomitable would fire and reality would scream as machines were crushed into nothing. But there were so many. For every 10 the humans destroyed, 100 more pushed forward. The harvester fleet was approaching Vrexia Prime and nothing could stop them all. Commander, we're detecting ground strikes, his communications officer reported. The harvesters are landing troops on the surface. Evacuation is underway, but we can't save everyone. Jathron made a decision. Admiral Chen, I'm taking 3 ships to the surface. We need to slow them down, buy time for the evacuation. Acknowledged, Chen said. I'm sending my Marine detachment. They've fought harvesters on the ground before. Let them help. The shuttle that descended carried 50 human Marines. Jathron met them on the landing pad as civilians fled around them. The Marines were wearing armor that looked alive, shifting and adapting to the environment. Their weapons were compact but radiated power signatures that made his sensors scream warnings. The leader removed her helmet. She was young, maybe 30 in human years, with cold eyes that had seen too much death. Colonel Rodriguez. Where do you need us? The capital city, Jathron said. 3 million civilians still evacuating. The harvesters are breaking through our defenses. Show me. They flew over a war zone. Harvester machines were tearing through the city, consuming buildings, vehicles, anything made of metal. Imperial soldiers fought bravely but uselessly. Their weapons sparked harmlessly off the machine hulls. Civilians died as drones swept through streets, targeting anything that moved. The human shuttle dropped low and the Marines deployed. Jathron watched from above as they engaged the enemy, and he finally understood why humanity had survived 600 years of this hell. The Marines moved like they were part of some greater organism, each one covering the others, never staying in one place, constantly adapting. Their weapons fired rounds that exploded inside the harvester machines, disrupting their quantum cores. They used grenades that created localized electromagnetic pulses, shutting down the drones. One Marine pulled out what looked like a simple blade, but when she drove it into a machine's core, it screamed and died, its systems completely fried. Quantum disruption blades, Rodriguez explained over the radio. We learned that harvesters have a weakness. Hit the core directly with quantum interference and they shut down. The trick is getting close enough. Getting close meant being within reach of weapons designed to kill. Jathron watched a Marine get hit, the armor absorbing most of the impact but the soldier still going down. Immediately, 2 others covered the retreat, dragging their comrade to safety while maintaining suppressing fire. They fought for 6 hours. 6 brutal, bloody hours. The Marines killed hundreds of machines, saved thousands of civilians, held impossible lines against overwhelming odds, and they did it with casual efficiency, like they had done it 1,000 times before. Because they had, Jathron fought alongside them, his 4 arms wielding Imperial weapons that did nothing, then switching to a spare human rifle that one Marine gave him. The weapon felt strange in his grip, too light, too precise. But when he fired, harvesters died. He learned their tactics, their weaknesses, the way they moved and thought. He learned how to survive against an enemy that should not be survivable. Above them, the space battle raged. The Indomitable was fighting alone now, the Imperial fleet too damaged to do more than evacuate ships. Admiral Chen's warship danced between enemy fire, its shields flickering but holding, its weapons carving paths of destruction through the machine swarm. But even the Indomitable had limits. Jathron watched from the ground as the human ship took hit after hit, its armor blackening, sections venting atmosphere. It was dying to save a world it had no connection to, protecting people it had met only days ago. All Imperial ships capable of flight, Jathron transmitted. Ramming speed. Target the largest harvester vessels. If we're dying today, we die like warriors. Commander, wait, Chen's voice cut through.
Don't throw your lives away.
I have one more trick. The Indomitable stopped firing. It stopped moving. It just hung in space while harvesters converged on it from every direction. Jathron screamed for Chen to move, to run, but she didn't respond. Then the human ship exploded. Not destroyed. It detonated deliberately, a massive pulse of energy that radiated outward in every direction. It washed over the harvester fleet, and wherever it touched, machines shut down. Their weapons went dark. Their engines died. 3,000 ships became 3,000 pieces of dead metal, drifting helplessly in the void. The silence was profound. "Chen!" Jathron shouted into his communicator. "Admiral Chen, respond." Static. Nothing but static, then faintly a weak signal. "Still here, Commander. That was an electromagnetic pulse bomb. We've been carrying it for emergencies. Shuts down everything electronic within a light-minute radius, including life support. How long can you survive? Maybe an hour on backup systems. After that, we suffocate." Jathron looked at his fleet, at the damaged ships barely holding together. Then he looked at his people, at the Marines who had fought beside his soldiers, at the civilians who had been saved by human courage. "All ships. Rescue operations. I want every human on that ship brought aboard Imperial vessels. Move fast. And someone find me an engineer who can restart their systems." They saved them. Barely. The Indomitable's crew was evacuated with minutes to spare. Admiral Chen the last to leave her ship. When she stepped onto Jathron's bridge, she was covered in soot, bleeding from a dozen cuts, exhausted beyond measure. But she smiled. "Thank you," she said simply. Jathron extended all four arms in the Rexian gesture of respect. "Thank you, Admiral. You saved my world. You saved my people." Chen looked out at the field of dead harvester ships. "Commander, I need to tell you something. This was just a scouting force, a test. The main harvester armada is still out there, and if they followed my ship here, they know about the Empire now. They'll come for your worlds. All of them. How long do we have?"
Maybe a month.
"Maybe less. They'll bring everything. Millions of ships. And without the Indomitable operational, without more human ships, the Empire can't stop them." Counselor Mirvan, who had been coordinating the evacuation, stepped forward. "Then we need an alliance. Official. Immediate. Humanity and the Empire together." "The Emperor will never agree," Jathron said bitterly. "He'll see it as weakness." "Then we make him agree," Mirvan said with surprising steel in his voice. The Imperial throne room was designed to make visitors feel small. It stretched for 100 meters, lined with pillars carved from single pieces of crystal that caught and reflected light in dazzling patterns. At the far end, elevated on a platform that required climbing 50 steps, sat Emperor Vox, then the Eternal, ruler of 1,000 worlds, the most powerful being in the galaxy. Until today. Admiral Sarah Chen climbed those steps with Fleet Commander Jathron at her side, and she did not feel small. She felt angry. 3 days of political maneuvering, 3 days of bureaucrats arguing while the Harvester main armada crept closer. 3 days wasted when they should have been preparing for war. The Emperor was old, maybe 500 years by Imperial standards, his scales dulled with age but his eyes still sharp. He studied Chen as she approached, his expression unreadable. "So," he said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "this is the human who destroyed a harvester fleet with a single ship. You have caused quite a stir in my empire, Admiral Chen." "Your Majesty," Chen said, using the formal title that had been drilled into her. "I caused nothing. The harvesters did. I just helped clean up the mess." Murmurs rippled through the assembled courtiers. Humans were supposed to be diplomatic, grateful, humble before the Emperor's magnificence. Chen was none of those things. "You are direct," the Emperor observed. "Your reputation precedes you. Fleet Commander Jathron speaks highly of your combat abilities. Counselor Mirvan advocates loudly for an alliance. But I am curious, Admiral. Why should the Empire tie itself to humanity? We have managed quite well for 3,000 years without you." Chen had prepared for this question. She pulled out a small device and activated it. A holographic projection filled the throne room, showing the Harvester main armada. The assembled courtiers gasped. The fleet was incomprehensibly large, a swarm that blotted out stars. "This is why, Your Majesty. This fleet is heading toward your space. It will arrive in 18 days. When it does, every world in the Empire will be consumed. Every person, every city, every ship. Gone. Converted into raw materials to build more machines. Your 3,000 years of civilization will become fuel for an endless army. The Imperial Navy can defend us," a military advisor said. "We have 17,000 warships. And they won't stop even a fraction of this fleet," Chen replied. "I fought harvesters for my entire career. Your weapons don't work on them. Your shields can't hold them. Your tactics assume an enemy that wants territory or resources. Harvesters don't want anything. They just consume. Unless you want to watch your empire die, you need us. Or perhaps we need only your technology, another courtier suggested. Share your weapons and we can defend ourselves. Chen laughed, bitter and sharp. It took humanity 600 years to develop these weapons. 600 years of losing worlds, of watching billions die, of trying and failing and trying again. You think you can learn it in 18 days? You think you can manufacture quantum displacement cannons in your shipyards that have never built anything more advanced than plasma batteries? You are arrogant, the Emperor said. I'm realistic, Chen shot back. Your Majesty, I'm not here to beg. I'm here to offer a partnership. Humanity has the technology and experience. The Empire has the numbers and industrial capacity. Together we can win. Separately we both die. It's that simple. Jathron stepped forward. Your Majesty, I fought beside the humans on Vrexia Prime. I watched 50 of their marines hold off thousands of harvesters. I watched their ship sacrifice itself to save my world. They are warriors of the highest caliber. This is not an insult to the Empire. This is reality. We need them. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of 3 millennia of rule. If I agree to this alliance, I acknowledge that the Empire cannot protect itself. I show weakness to every rival, every ambitious faction within my own government. I risk civil war for the sake of an external threat that may never arrive. It will arrive, Chen said quietly. I've seen it happen. I watched machines consume my home colony when I was 10 years old. I watched my parents die trying to buy time for evacuation ships. I spent my entire life fighting this enemy. They will come. The only question is whether you'll face them alone or with allies. The throne room doors burst open. A messenger ran in, protocol forgotten in his panic. Your Majesty, we're receiving reports. 3 Imperial worlds in the Outer Rim have gone silent. All communication cut off. Long-range sensors show energy signatures consistent with harvester activity. The courtiers erupted in chaos. The Emperor's expression hardened. How long? The attacks happened 6 hours ago, Your Majesty. By the time we got there, the planets were stripped. Nothing left. 14 billion people gone. Chen felt sick. It had started. The harvesters weren't waiting. They were already feeding, building strength for the main assault. Admiral Chen, the Emperor said, his voice cutting through the noise. What do you need? Everything, Chen said. I need your shipyards working at full capacity. I need your best engineers learning our technology. I need every ship you have refitted with weapons that can actually hurt these things. And I need the human fleet here as fast as possible. How long for your fleet to arrive? 2 weeks if they push the quantum drives to maximum. But Your Majesty, even with both our fleets, we're outnumbered 100 to 1. We need a strategy. We need a battlefield we choose. We need every advantage we can create. The Emperor stood, his ancient body moving with surprising grace. Then we begin. Counselor Miravan, you are now ambassador to humanity. Coordinate with Admiral Chen. Fleet Commander Jathron, you will oversee the military integration. I want human advisors in every major fleet. I want our ships capable of fighting within 10 days. Your Majesty, a courtier protested. This gives humans access to all our military secrets. And gives us access to theirs, the Emperor replied. This is not about secrets. This is about survival. Are we clear? The courtier bowed, defeated. Over the next 10 days, the Empire transformed. Human engineers arrived on transport ships, bringing with them technology that seemed like magic to Imperial scientists. They installed quantum cannons on Imperial battleships, taught crews how to target harvester weak points, shared tactical manuals written in blood across 6 centuries of warfare. Chen spent 18 hours a day in meetings, coordinating with dozens of Imperial military leaders. She taught them about harvester tactics, about how they adapted and learned, about the importance of unpredictability and constant adaptation. She also learned about the Empire, about their honor codes, their loyalty to comrades, their willingness to die for duty. They were not weak or cowardly. They were simply unprepared for an enemy like this. They had fought civilized wars with rules and objectives. The harvesters followed no rules and had only one objective: consume everything. On the 5th day, something unexpected happened. Chen was reviewing defensive plans when a young Imperial officer approached her. His name was Kethran, a tactical specialist who had been asking sharp, intelligent questions. Admiral, he said hesitantly, I wanted to thank you. For what? For showing us what we needed to see. The Empire has grown comfortable, safe. We forgot what it means to fight for survival. You reminded us, Chen studied him. Fighting for survival is terrible, officer. I don't recommend it, but it makes you strong. Humanity faced horrors and became stronger. The Empire faced nothing and became soft. Perhaps this war is what we needed. No, Chen said firmly. War is never what anyone needs. War is what happens when everything else fails. Don't romanticize it. People will die. Billions of people. Good people. People with families and dreams and futures. They'll die because machines decided organic life is inefficient. There's nothing noble or necessary about that. It's just tragedy. Kethran was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. You're right. I apologize. Don't apologize. Just fight well when the time comes. Honor the people we're trying to save by making sure they survive. On the 10th day, the human fleet arrived. 80 warships, each one bristling with weapons that made space itself nervous. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predatory fish, beautiful and deadly. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the repaired Indomitable and watched them arrive with pride. Her second-in-command, Captain Torres, stood beside her. Think we can win this? I don't know, Chen admitted. But we have to try. Because if we lose, there's nothing left. No home to return to. No future to build. Just machines and emptiness. Then we better not lose. The combined fleet assembled. 1,200 Imperial ships and 80 human vessels. It should have been impossible. Two civilizations that had never worked together suddenly fighting as one unit. But desperation creates cooperation. Every captain knew what was at stake. Jathron moved his command to the Indomitable's sister ship, working directly with human tactical officers to coordinate the combined fleet. The plan was simple in concept, horrifying in execution. They would meet the Harvester Armada in the Abyss Expanse, empty space between star systems. No civilians, no worlds to protect, just two forces meeting in the void to determine the fate of organic life in the galaxy. On the 18th day, sensors detected the approaching enemy. The Abyss Expanse lived up to its name. Empty space stretched in every direction. No stars nearby, no planets, nothing but void. It was the perfect battlefield. No civilians to protect, no infrastructure to save. Just two forces meeting to decide which would continue existing. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the Harvester Armada approach on her tactical display. 3 million ships. The number was so large it became meaningless, abstract. Her mind tried to comprehend it and failed. She had fought harvesters for decades, but never anything approaching this scale. Distance to engagement range? She asked. 40 minutes at current speeds, her tactical officer replied. They're not trying to avoid us. They're coming straight on. Of course they were. Harvesters didn't fear. They didn't strategize beyond basic optimization. They saw targets and consumed them. Simple, efficient, terrifying. Beside her, Fleet Commander Jathron studied the same display. In the past 18 days, the four-armed Vrexian warrior had become more than an ally. He had become a friend. They had fought together, planned together, learned to trust each other's instincts in combat. First time I saw the Indomitable, I thought it was the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, Jathron said quietly. Now I realize it was trying to survive something even more dangerous. That's humanity, Chen said. We're not the strongest or smartest species. We just refuse to die quietly. A useful trait. Today we'll see if it's useful enough. The combined fleet moved into formation. The strategy was called the Chen Maneuver, though Chen hadn't named it. The human ships would use their quantum displacement drives to create artificial gravity wells across a wide area. The harvesters, following basic optimization patterns, would funnel into the gravity wells to save energy. That's when the Imperial ships would hit them, concentrating overwhelming firepower in narrow kill zones. In theory, it was brilliant. In practice, it required perfect timing, coordination between two species that had never fought together before, and luck. Lots of luck. All human ships begin quantum displacement, Chen ordered. Create the wells on my mark. 80 human warships activated drives that bent spacetime itself. Reality rippled like water and gravity increased along carefully planned vectors. Space became a maze where some paths required 10 times more energy to traverse than others. The harvesters, operating on efficiency protocols, would naturally choose the lower energy paths. Gravity wells established, Captain Torres reported. They're holding stable. Imperial fleet move into ambush positions, Jathron transmitted. Hold fire until they're fully committed. 1,200 Imperial ships glided into position along the kill zones. Every weapon charged, every crew member at their station, waiting. The Harvester Armada reached the gravity wells and did exactly what Chen predicted. The swarm began funneling into the low-energy corridors, clustering together, concentrating their forces into narrow channels. They didn't see the trap because they weren't designed to see traps. They only saw optimal paths. Now, Chen whispered. All Imperial ships fire. Shathran roared. Space erupted in light. 1,200 ships unleashed everything they had into tightly packed harvester formations. The new quantum cannons, installed by human engineers over the past 10 days, ripped through machine hulls. Plasma torpedoes found weak points. Kinetic kill vehicles slammed into cores at relativistic speeds. Harvester ships died. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. The kill zones became graveyards of twisted metal and vented atmosphere. For a glorious moment, Chen let herself believe it would work. Then the harvesters adapted. That was the thing about self-learning machines. They learned fast. The swarm recognized the trap and stopped funneling. Instead, they spread out, accepting the higher energy cost to attack from every direction at once. The gravity wells that were supposed to control them became irrelevant. They're surrounding us, Torres said, his voice tight. Flanking maneuvers on all vectors. All ships collapse formation, Chen ordered. Form defensive sphere. Protect the Imperial vessels. The human ships moved with practiced precision, forming a protective shell around the less maneuverable Imperial fleet. The harvesters swarmed in and the real battle began. It was chaos. Beautiful, terrible chaos. Human ships darted and weaved, their superior maneuverability allowing them to dance between enemy fire. Imperial ships held the center, their massed firepower creating zones of death that even harvesters hesitated to enter. Together they fought as one organism, each part supporting the others. But there were so many enemies. For every harvester destroyed, 10 more took its place. The machines didn't care about losses. They just kept coming, endless and patient, knowing that organic beings tired and machines did not. Admiral, the Valiant Star is taking heavy fire, the communications officer reported. Shields at 20%. Indomitable moving to support, Chen said, piloting her ship toward the struggling Imperial cruiser. Her quantum cannons carved a path through the enemy swarm, and the Valiant Star managed to retreat to safety. But it was a temporary reprieve. Chen watched her tactical display with growing dread. They were losing. Slowly but inevitably, ship by ship, the combined fleet was being whittled down. In 2 hours, maybe 3, they would be overwhelmed. We need the Cascade device, Torres said quietly. Chen had hoped to avoid this. The Cascade device was humanity's ultimate weapon against harvesters. It sent out a quantum interference pulse that disrupted the hive network linking all harvester machines. Once triggered, it would shut down every machine in range. But there was a problem. The device only works if we can deliver it to their central command ship, Chen said. The one coordinating the entire armada. It's somewhere in the center of their formation. Getting there means flying through 2 million hostile ships. It's suicide. Then we die fighting instead of waiting, Torres replied. Admiral, we all knew this was a one-way mission. Let's make it count. Chen looked around the bridge at her crew, young faces and old humans who had signed up knowing they might not survive. They weren't afraid. They were ready. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We have a weapon that can end this, but someone needs to deliver it to the heart of the enemy formation. I'm taking the Indomitable in. Continue the fight. Protect the Empire. If we succeed, you'll know. The machines will go dark. Admiral, wait, Shathran's voice cut in. You can't do this alone. My ship will accompany you. Commander, you'll be killed. Then I'll die like a warrior protecting my empire. This is my choice, Admiral. Don't deny me this honor. Chen wanted to argue, but she understood. Some things mattered more than survival. Understood, Commander. Welcome aboard. Shathran's battleship Honor's Edge moved alongside the Indomitable. Together, the two ships turned toward the center of the Harvester Armada and accelerated to maximum speed. The flight through the enemy swarm was nightmare. Thousands of machines focused fire on them. The Indomitable's shields flickered and failed. Hull breaches vented atmosphere. Crew members died at their stations. But Chen kept flying, kept pushing forward, kept believing they could make it. Beside her, the Honor's Edge was taking even worse punishment. The Imperial battleship wasn't designed for this kind of fight. Sections were breaking away, weapons going offline, life support failing, but Jathron kept pace, his ship's weapons clearing a path when the Indomitables failed. "Commander, your ship can't take much more," Chen transmitted. "Neither can yours," Jathron replied calmly. "Keep flying, Admiral. We're almost there." The central command ship was massive, 10 times the size of any other harvester vessel. It pulsed with energy, coordinating the entire swarm through quantum-entangled communication networks. If they could destroy it, shut down its network, the entire armada would collapse. "Torres, prepare the cascade device," Chen ordered. Device armed. "Admiral, I'm getting strange readings. The command ship is charging something. A weapon we haven't seen before." Chen saw it too. The massive ship's core was glowing brighter, energy building to impossible levels. If that weapon fired at the Imperial fleet, it would be over. They had to stop it now. "Full speed," she ordered. "Ram it if we have to." The Indomitable surged forward, every remaining thruster firing. The Honor's Edge kept pace. They were 100 kilometers away, 50, 20. The command ship's weapon reached full charge. "Now!" Chen screamed. Torres activated the cascade device and launched it from the Indomitable's torpedo tubes. The small device streaked across the remaining distance and impacted the command ship's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality screamed. The quantum interference pulse radiated outward at the speed of light, an invisible wave of disruption that severed every quantum link, shut down every hive connection, collapsed the entire network. The command ship went dark. Then the ship next to it. Then 100 ships. 1,000. 1,000,000, 3,000,000 harvester vessels, each one a terrifying war machine, simply stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their engines died. Their intelligence vanished, leaving them as nothing more than metal shells drifting in space. The silence was profound. "Did it work?" Torres asked, his voice barely a whisper. "It worked," Chen confirmed, checking her sensors. "They're all dead. Every single one." Cheers erupted across the combined fleet. Humans and Imperials celebrated together, the joy of survival. One host stood in the war room deep under the mountains of Colorado. Maps of the solar system covered every wall. Red dots showed the positions of alien ships, while blue dots marked human forces. The red dots outnumbered the blue ones by more than 10 to 1. "We cannot win this fight using normal tactics," one host said to his staff. "The aliens have better weapons, stronger shields, and more ships. But they have one weakness." "What is that, sir?" asked Colonel Park. "They think they know how wars are supposed to work. They expect us to follow the same rules that every other species uses. But humans do not follow rules when survival is at stake." Wanho pointed to the largest group of red dots. "The Machine Confluence fleet is made up entirely of robot ships controlled by artificial intelligence. AI thinks logically. It tries to predict what enemies will do based on past behavior. And the other fleets? The Shadowkin use fear as a weapon. They expect their enemies to panic and make mistakes. The Void Hunters are telepaths. They read minds to predict enemy moves. All three fleets are used to fighting predictable enemies." One host smiled grimly. "They have never fought humans before." In the asteroid belt, Ji-Wan prepared for the most dangerous mission of her life. She had been a space miner for 15 years before the war started. Now she commanded a fleet of converted mining ships. Her vessels looked nothing like military ships. They were ugly, practical machines designed to crack open asteroids and haul raw materials. But Ji-Wan had a plan that would use their design to her advantage. "Listen carefully," she told her crews over the radio. "We are going to do something that has never been tried before. We are going to use Jupiter itself as a weapon." The mining ships spread out in a long line. They moved slowly toward Jupiter's gravity well, just as they would when approaching an asteroid. The Machine Confluence fleet detected them immediately. To the alien AI, these ships looked like civilian vessels trying to escape the battle zone. The AI calculated that they posed no threat and ignored them. This was exactly what Ji-Wan wanted. "Begin acceleration burn," she ordered. The mining ships fired their engines and dove toward Jupiter. As they fell into the giant planet's gravity field, they picked up speed. Faster and faster they went until they were moving at incredible velocity. At the last possible moment, Ji-Wan gave the final order. "Pull up and target the robot fleet." The mining ships swung around Jupiter like rocks from a slingshot. They were now moving so fast that nothing could stop them. The Machine Confluence ships tried to shoot them down, but they were going too fast to hit. Ji-Wan's ship slammed into the side of a robot dreadnought. The impact destroyed both vessels instantly. But the alien ship was much more expensive to replace. Across the battlefield, 19 other mining ships struck their targets. The machine confluence lost 20 major warships in less than 5 minutes. The AI controlling the robot fleet was confused. It had never seen a tactic like this before. In its calculations, suicide attacks only made sense when the attacking force was desperate and had no other options. But the humans had other ships they could use. Why sacrifice these vessels? The AI did not understand that humans sometimes chose to die if it meant protecting others. On Earth's orbital defense platform, Hye-Jin watched the battle unfold. She commanded the planet's ring of weapon stations that floated in high orbit. Her job was to protect Earth from direct attack, but the machine confluence fleet was too large for conventional weapons to stop. She needed to find a weakness in their robot ships. "Run a deep scan on the lead robot vessel," she ordered her technicians. "Scanning now, ma'am," came the reply. "I am detecting massive computer systems running throughout the ship." Hye-Jin thought about this. If the ships were controlled by AI, then they would process every piece of information they received. They would try to understand everything they saw. What if we gave them something they could not understand? She wondered aloud. "Ma'am, paint all our platforms bright pink." "Right now." Her crew stared at her. "Pink, ma'am?" "Bright pink. And start broadcasting classical music on all frequencies." "I do not understand." "You do not need to understand. The enemy AI does not need to understand either. That is the point." Within an hour, Earth's defense platforms had been painted in the most ridiculous color possible. They broadcasted human music while moving in patterns that made no tactical sense. The machine confluence AI tried to analyze this behavior. Why would the humans paint their weapons pink? What strategic advantage did music provide? Why were they moving in seemingly random patterns? The AI devoted more and more processing power to understanding human behavior. It created thousands of theories and tested each one. Nothing made sense. Slowly, the robot ships began to move more slowly as their computers worked harder to solve the puzzle of human tactics. This was exactly what Hye-Jin wanted. "Fire all weapons," she ordered. The pink defense platforms opened fire on the confused robot ships. Many of the alien vessels were destroyed before their AI could respond effectively. Meanwhile, the Void Hunters were having their own problems. They were used to winning battles through fear and intimidation. Their telepathic abilities let them project terrifying images directly into enemy minds, but Kyung-Soo and his Space Marines were ready for them. "All right. Marines," Kyung-Soo announced over the squad radio. "The aliens are going to try to scare us. They will put horrible images in our heads. Do not let them." "How do we stop telepathic attacks, sir?" asked Sergeant Kim. "We fill our minds with something else. Something loud." Kyung-Soo activated his neural implant and began playing heavy metal music at maximum volume directly into his brain. His Marines did the same. When the Void Hunter ships approached and tried to project fear, they encountered something they had never experienced before. Human minds completely filled with loud, aggressive music. The telepathic assault failed completely. Instead of fear, the aliens encountered songs about rebellion, fighting, and never giving up. "What is this noise?" asked the Void Hunter commander. "It appears to be some form of auditory art," replied his second-in-command. "Turn it off." "We cannot. The humans are generating it themselves." Kyung-Soo and his Marines boarded the alien ships while their enemies were still trying to understand what heavy metal music was. In another part of the solar system, Dayun worked frantically in her laboratory. She was a quantum physicist who had been assigned to find weaknesses in alien technology. She had discovered something important. All 3 alien fleets used similar communication systems. They all relied on faster-than-light signals to coordinate their ships. "If I can hack into their communications," she thought, "I can cause confusion." Dayun wrote a computer virus designed specifically for alien navigation systems. It was simple but effective. The virus would make each ship's computer think that nearby vessels belonged to a different fleet. She uploaded the virus to a captured alien communication device and broadcast it toward all 3 fleets. The effect was immediate and chaotic. Shadowkin. Ships began identifying machine confluence vessels as threats. Robot ships targeted Void Hunter ships as unknown hostiles. Void Hunter vessels prepared to attack anything that was not clearly marked as friendly. Within minutes, the 3 alien fleets were shooting at each other instead of at Earth. "Sir," reported an officer to Wonho, The alien fleets are engaging each other. They appear to think we have allied with their enemies. One-Ho smiled. Perfect. While they fight each other, we will pick off the stragglers. Order all human ships to attack any alien vessel that tries to leave the battle. The three most powerful war fleets in the galaxy were now locked in a massive, three-way battle above Earth. Each fleet thought the humans had somehow convinced the other two fleets to switch sides. None of them realized that humans were simply better at fighting, dirty than anyone else in the galaxy. As explosions lit up the darkness of space, One-Ho began planning humanity's next move. The aliens had made a mistake by attacking Earth. Now they were going to learn what happened when you picked a fight with a species that refused to fight fair. Captain Dongwu stood on the bridge of his ship, the Resilience. Through the large window he could see Jupiter's great red spot spinning slowly. His crew was busy checking their instruments and preparing for what they thought would be a routine patrol. "Captain," called out his communications officer, "we are getting strange readings from the outer sensors. Something big is coming toward us." Dongwu moved to look at the screens. What he saw made his blood run cold. Dozens of massive black ships were appearing out of nowhere. They were shaped like giant spears and covered in sharp points. Red lights blinked along their sides. "All crew to battle stations," Dongwu ordered calmly. "Send a message to Earth Command immediately." The alien ships moved into a formation around Jupiter. They were much larger than any human vessel. Each one looked like it could destroy a city by itself. A voice suddenly filled the bridge. It sounded like broken glass mixed with cold wind. Primitive creatures of the third planet.
"I am Admiral Crixtal of the Shadowkin Imperium."
"You will surrender your world immediately." Dongwu looked at his crew. They were afraid, but they were ready to fight. He activated the communication system. "This is Captain Dongwu of the Earth vessel Resilience. We do not surrender. We adapt." There was silence for a moment. Then the alien voice spoke again, sounding surprised. "You refuse? Do you not understand? We have weapons that can destroy your entire planet. Your technology is like toys compared to ours." "Maybe," Dongwu replied. "But toys can still hurt you if you're not careful." On Earth, Minho sat in the underground command center. Screens all around him showed the alien fleet near Jupiter. He had been preparing for this day for years, ever since humans first detected signs of alien life. "Sir," one of his officers reported, "the alien fleet has 57 vessels. Each one is at least 5 times larger than our biggest ship." Minho nodded. "What about their weapons?" "Unknown, but energy readings suggest they are very powerful." "And our defenses?" "All orbital platforms are armed and ready. The lunar bases are prepared for battle. Every human ship within 10 hours travel time is moving to Earth." Minho studied the tactical display. The humans had about 300 ships total, but most were small. They also had nuclear weapons, but the aliens probably had shields that could stop them. "Sir," another officer called out, "the alien admiral is broadcasting to the entire planet." The voice of Crixtal filled the command center. "People of Earth, your military has foolishly refused our offer of mercy. We will now demonstrate why resistance is pointless." On the screens, 3 alien ships moved toward the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Human mining stations floated among the rocks, extracting metals and ice. "No," Minho whispered. The alien ships fired beams of purple energy. The mining stations exploded instantly. Hundreds of human workers died in moments, "You see?" Crixtal announced. "Your people are like insects to us. Surrender now, or we will destroy your cities one by one." But instead of fear, Minho felt something else. Anger. The aliens had just made their first mistake. They thought destroying civilian targets would scare humans. They were wrong. "All units," Minho spoke into his microphone. "This is Earth Command. The aliens have killed our people. Show them what happens when they threaten humanity." Near Jupiter, Dongwu received new orders. He was to attack the alien fleet using a new tactic that Minho had developed. It was based on studying old human wars. "Yunji," Dongwu called to his chief engineer, "are our nuclear missiles ready?" Yunji looked up from her console. She was young but very smart. "Ready, Captain. But their shields will probably stop them. Not if we use them the right way. Launch all missiles, but do not aim at their ships." "Sir?" "Aim at the empty space around them. Set the missiles to explode in a pattern." Yunji understood immediately. "You want to create a nuclear cloud? The radiation will interfere with their shields." "Exactly. And while their shields are down, we hit them with everything else." The Resilience fired 20 nuclear missiles. They spread out and exploded in a huge sphere around the alien fleet. The space filled with radiation and electromagnetic energy. "Shields are fluctuating," reported the weapons officer on Kriegstahl's ship. "Impossible," the alien admiral said. "Their primitive weapons cannot affect our technology." But the human missiles were not trying to penetrate the shields. They were designed to confuse them. And it worked. "Now," Dongwu ordered. Every human ship in the area opened fire at once. Lasers, missiles, and railguns all targeted the same alien vessel. With its shields confused by the radiation, the attacks went through. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire. Kriegstahl stared at his screens in shock. How is this possible? They used nuclear weapons as a distraction. On another human ship, Yunji was having her own problems. Her vessel had been damaged by alien return fire. The life support systems were failing, and her crew was running out of air. But Yunji was an engineer. She looked at problems differently than other people. "Captain," she said to her commanding officer, "I have an idea. It is dangerous, but it might work." "What do you need?" "Permission to modify our air recycling system." "To do what?" "To make it explode." Yunji worked quickly. She rerouted the life support system so that it would release all the ship's atmosphere at once. But instead of just venting air, she mixed it with fuel and ignited it. Her ship flew directly at an alien destroyer. At the last moment, she triggered her improvised weapon. The explosion was enormous. The alien ship was caught completely off guard. Its shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, not a ship that had turned itself into a giant bomb. The destroyer was destroyed. Back on Earth, Su-bin monitored communications from across the solar system. She was starting to see a pattern in the alien fleet movements. "Sir," she reported to Minho, "I am detecting 2 more alien fleets approaching Earth. They are coming from different directions." Minho frowned. "More Shadowkin ships?" "No, sir. These appear to be different species entirely. The energy signatures do not match." "How many ships total?" "At least 200 alien vessels, possibly more." Minho realized what was happening. 3 different alien empires were attacking Earth at the same time, but they were not working together. "Su-bin, are the 3 fleets communicating with each other?" "No, sir. In fact, they seem to be avoiding each other." A terrible thought occurred to Minho. The aliens were not trying to conquer Earth together. They were competing with each other to see who could destroy humanity first. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "Sir, if they are not working together, then they might not be prepared to fight each other. Send new orders to all our ships. We are going to use their competition against them." As the 3 alien fleets moved closer to Earth, none of them knew that the humans were already planning to turn their rivalry into a weapon. The aliens thought they were the hunters. They were about to learn that sometimes the prey fights back. The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. Inside its silver walls, the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat around a large table. The Galactic Council was meeting, and something had made them very worried. Hyunwoo walked into the Great Hall. His blue skin marked him as a member of the Krillian Empire. He carried a datapad in his 6-fingered hands. The other council members looked at him with curious eyes. "Fellow council members," Hyunwoo said in a calm voice, "we have a problem. 3 of our most dangerous enemies are moving their war fleets. They are all heading to the same place, so..." Jin leaned forward in her chair. Her people, the Vorthons, had green scales that shimmered under the lights. "Where are they going?" she asked. Hyunwoo touched his datapad. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. "They are going here. A world called Earth. It sits on the edge of our galaxy." Taemin laughed. His tall, thin body shook with amusement. "Earth? That tiny world with the primitive creatures? Why would anyone waste time on such a useless place?" "The creatures are called humans," Hyunwoo explained. "Our reports say they have only just learned to travel between stars. They have simple weapons and old technology. They are listed as a level 2 civilization." Yejin spoke up. Her voice sounded like music, which was normal for her people. "I know about humans. They fight among themselves constantly. They use crude weapons that explode. Very primitive indeed." The council members began to talk among themselves. They found the idea funny. Why would 3 powerful star empires attack such a weak world? Jinho stood up from his seat. He was also from the Krillian Empire, but he wore the dark uniform of a military officer. You should not laugh, he said seriously. The Shadowkin Imperium has sent 50 warships. The Void Hunters have gathered their death fleet. The machine confluence has awakened their robot armies. These are not small forces, so what? Taman said with a wave of his hand. Even 100 ships is too much for such a simple world. The humans will surrender in minutes. Nara moved silently to the front of the room. Her people were known for being very good at gathering secrets. She had pale white skin and large black eyes. When she spoke, everyone listened. I have been watching these 3 empires, she said quietly. They are not working together. In fact, they hate each other. But they all chose the same target. Do you know why? The room became quiet. Nara continued. Each empire wants to test their new weapons and tactics. They think Earth is perfect for this. The humans are smart enough to provide a real fight, but weak enough to lose quickly. They want to use this battle as practice before they fight each other. So Jin frowned. Practice? They are using an entire world as a training exercise? Yes, Nara said. The Shadowkin want to test their new mind control weapons. The Void Hunters want to try their fear tactics on a species they have never met. The Machine Confluence wants to see how well their robot soldiers fight against biological enemies. Hyun-woo looked at the hologram of Earth. The humans do not know what is coming. They have no idea that 3 war fleets are heading toward their world. Should we warn them? Ye-jin asked. The council members looked at each other. Taemin shook his head. Why? This will be over very quickly. The humans will either surrender or be destroyed. Either way, we will learn valuable information about our enemies. Jinho stepped forward. I disagree. I have studied human military history. These creatures are dangerous in ways you do not understand. Dangerous? So-jin laughed. They cannot even travel faster than light without our old technology. What could they possibly do against star empires? They are unpredictable, Jinho said firmly. Every other species in the galaxy follows certain patterns. When facing a stronger enemy, most creatures either fight or run away. Some surrender. Humans do all of these things, but they also do things that make no sense. Like what? Taemin asked. Jinho activated his own datapad. Images of human history appeared in the air. When their cities are surrounded, they sometimes fight to the death. Other times they pretend to surrender and then attack when the enemy gets close. Sometimes they destroy their own cities rather than let enemies take them. Sometimes they run away but then come back with help. You never know what they will do. That just proves they are chaotic and stupid, Ye-jin said. No, Jinho replied. It proves they are adaptable. They change their behavior based on the situation. This makes them very hard to predict. Nara nodded slowly. Jinho is right. My spies have been studying humans for years. They have something we call crazy bravery. When things look hopeless, they often become more dangerous, not less. Hyun-woo looked around the table. So what do we do? Should we interfere? The council thought about this. Finally, So-jin spoke. Let us watch and learn. We will observe this battle from a safe distance. It will give us information about 3 of our enemies at once. And if the humans win? Jinho asked. Taemin laughed again. Win? Against 3 star empires? That is impossible. The humans have maybe a few hundred small ships. Their enemies have thousands of powerful vessels. This will not be a battle. It will be a demonstration. Besides, Ye-jin added, even if the humans somehow survive the first attack, they have no way to fight back. They cannot travel to other star systems quickly. They cannot build new ships fast enough. They are trapped on their little world. Nara made some notes on her datapad. I will position spy drones around the Earth system. We will record everything that happens. Good, Hyun-woo said. This meeting is closed. We will watch this practice battle and see what our enemies are truly capable of. As the council members left the Great Hall, Jinho remained behind. He stared at the hologram of Earth for a long time. Something worried him, but he could not explain what it was. In all his years of studying war, he had learned one important lesson. Never underestimate an enemy, no matter how weak they seem. The small blue planet continued to spin slowly in the hologram. Soon it would be surrounded by alien war fleets. Jinho wondered if the council was making a terrible mistake by choosing to simply watch. The Galactic Council's emergency meeting was very different from their last gathering. This time nobody was laughing. Hyun-woo stood before the great table with his hands shaking slightly. The holographic display behind him showed the battle raging around Earth. Explosions filled the space between 3 massive fleets as they fought each other and the small human ships. Council members, Hyunwoo began, his voice tight with worry. I must report something that should be impossible. The humans are not losing. So-jin leaned forward in her chair. Her green scales had turned a darker color, which happened when her people were stressed. What do you mean they are not losing? Look at the numbers. 3-star empires against one primitive world. The numbers do not tell the whole story, Hyunwoo replied. He activated the display showing recent battle footage. Watch this. The council members saw human ships that looked like they were held together with metal tape. Some had pieces missing. Others appeared to be mining vessels with weapons bolted onto their sides. These crude ships were somehow defeating alien vessels that cost more than most planets made in a year. This must be fake, Taemin said, but his voice was uncertain. It is not fake. Nara spoke from the shadows at the edge of the room. My spy drones have been recording everything. The humans are using tactics that violate every principle of space warfare. Show us, Yejin demanded. Nara activated her own display. The council watched in stunned silence as human ships painted bright pink destroyed robot vessels by confusing their AI. They saw mining ships use Jupiter's gravity to achieve impossible speeds. They watched human soldiers defeat telepathic aliens by playing loud music in their own heads. This is madness, So-jin whispered. Yes, Jinho said grimly. Human madness. I tried to warn you. Taemin shook his head. But how can such simple tactics work against advanced technology? Because the technology is too advanced, Jinho explained. The alien weapons and shields are designed to fight other advanced weapons. They are not prepared for nuclear bombs used as distractions or ships that turn themselves into missiles. Nara brought up more data. I have been analyzing human behavior patterns for the past 6 hours. I found something disturbing. What? Hyunwoo asked. I cannot find any patterns. Every other species in the galaxy has predictable responses to different situations. Humans appear capable of any response at any time. Yejin tried to understand this. That is impossible. All intelligent life follows certain rules. When faced with superior force, creatures either fight, flee, or surrender. There are no other options. Humans do all three, Nara replied. Sometimes at the same time. Sometimes they flee while fighting. Sometimes they surrender while planning an attack. Sometimes they fight when fleeing would be safer. She showed them more footage. Human ships retreating from one battle while launching surprise attacks in another location. Human commanders who surrendered their ships but programmed them to explode when aliens tried to board them. Human civilians who evacuated their space stations but left behind booby traps. They are completely unpredictable, Nara concluded. Taemin attempted to process this information. But if they are unpredictable, how do they coordinate with each other? How do they plan battles? That is the most frightening part, Jinho answered. They do not seem to need detailed plans. They adapt to new situations instantly. When one tactic fails, they immediately try something completely different. So Jin activated her own computer terminal. I want to run simulations of human behavior. If we can understand their thinking patterns, we can predict their actions. She began entering data about human tactics into her advanced prediction software. The computer was designed to analyze any species and determine how they would respond to different situations. After several minutes, the computer made a sound that the council had never heard before. It was an error tone, but different from normal errors. What is wrong with your computer? Hyunwoo asked. So-jin stared at her screen in confusion. It says the analysis is impossible. The computer cannot create a behavioral model for humans because their responses do not follow logical patterns. Try a different approach, Taemin suggested. So-jin tried again, using different analysis methods. Each time her computer failed to understand human behavior. Finally, the system displayed a message that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. Warning: subject species exhibits non-standard intelligence. Prediction algorithms cannot process paradoxical thinking patterns. Non-standard intelligence? Yejin repeated. What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the space station. Emergency lights flashed red. Council members, came a voice over the communication system. We are receiving urgent reports from across the galaxy. What kind of reports? Hyunwoo demanded. Human ships have been detected in 17 different star systems. They appear to be moving beyond their home system. The council members looked at each other in shock. That is impossible, Taemin said. Human ships are too slow to travel that far in such a short time. Nara was already analyzing the new data. They are using captured alien technology. They have somehow modified their ships with faster-than-light drives taken from destroyed enemy vessels. In a few hours? Sojin asked. It takes our best engineers months to integrate new technology. Human engineering appears to be different from ours, Nara replied. They do not try to understand how technology works. They just make it work. Jinho understood immediately. They are not trying to improve the alien technology. They are bolting it onto their existing ships like spare parts. New reports continued coming in. Human ships were attacking Shadowkin supply bases. They were rescuing prisoners from Void Hunter slave camps. They were shutting down Machine Confluence mining operations. Why are they spreading across the galaxy? Yejin asked. Why are they not staying home to defend their world? Because that is what we expected them to do, Jinho answered grimly. We expected them to huddle around their planet and wait for death. Instead, they are taking the fight to their enemies. Hyunwoo studied the latest reports. It gets worse. The humans are not just attacking military targets. They are freeing slaves, destroying weapons factories, and liberating occupied worlds. Liberating? Taemin asked. Yes, and the freed peoples are helping them. The humans are gaining allies wherever they go. Sojin felt a cold fear growing in her chest. How many allies? 17 species so far, Nara reported. All of them had been conquered or enslaved by the Shadowkin, Void Hunters, or Machine Confluence. All of them are now fighting alongside human forces. The council sat in stunned silence as they realized what was happening. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were starting a rebellion against 3 of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Council members, Yejin said quietly. We need to consider something terrible. What if the humans win? Win? Taemin laughed, but it sounded forced. 1 primitive species against 3-star empires? That is still impossible, is it? Jinho asked. Look at what they have accomplished in less than a day. They turned a 3-against-1 battle into a 3-way war. They captured advanced technology and learned to use it immediately. They freed multiple worlds and gained new allies. And, Nara added ominously, they are just getting started. Hyunwoo brought up a new display showing human ship movements across the galaxy. They are not moving randomly. There is a pattern here. They are systematically attacking the supply lines and communication networks of all 3 empires. They are trying to isolate the enemy fleets, Jinho realized. If the aliens cannot get reinforcements or new orders, they will be trapped. The room fell silent again as the council members understood the implications. Finally, Sojin spoke the words that everyone was thinking but nobody wanted to say. What if we are on the wrong side of this war? The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. The Galactic Council had always stayed neutral in conflicts between other species. But if humans could defeat 3-star empires, what did that mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? And more importantly, what would humans do to species that had chosen to simply watch while their world was attacked? Captain Dongwoo stood on the bridge of his new ship. It was not really one ship, but pieces of 4 different vessels welded together. The front half came from his old human vessel, the Resilience. The middle section was from a captured Shadowkin destroyer. The engines were taken from a Machine Confluence robot ship, and the weapons came from a Void Hunter cruiser. The ship looked terrible, but it worked. Captain, his communications officer called out. We are approaching the Proxima Centauri system. Shadowkin supply base detected ahead. Dongwoo smiled. This would be humanity's first attack beyond their own solar system. The aliens thought humans were trapped around Earth, defending their home world. They were about to learn how wrong they were. All ships, this is Captain Dongwoo. Remember, we are not here to conquer. We are here to send a message. Behind him followed a fleet of 20 human vessels. Each one looked different because they were all built from captured alien parts. Some had human crews. Others were operated by rescued alien slaves who had volunteered to fight against their former masters. Approaching the supply base now, reported the navigation officer. Through the view screen, Dongwoo could see the Shadowkin facility. It was a massive station built into an asteroid. Dozens of alien ships moved around it like insects. Sir, his tactical officer said, the base has heavy defenses. Our chances of success are low. Our chances do not matter, Dongwoo replied. What matters is that we are here. The Shadowkin thought their supply lines were safe. Today they learned that nowhere is safe from human reach. Back on Earth, Minho coordinated the larger human strategy. The battle above Earth was still raging, but the three alien fleets were mostly fighting each other now. This gave him time to plan humanity's next moves. Status report, he ordered. Sir, we have confirmed human forces in operation across 12 star systems, came the reply. Captain Dongwu is attacking Shadowkin supplies at Proxima Centauri. Commander Jiwan is striking machine confluence facilities in the Wolf system. Major Kyungsu is liberating Void Hunter prison camps near Vega. Minho nodded with satisfaction. The alien fleets had come to Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they were trapped in an expensive battle while humans struck at their home territories. What about our captured technology? Engineering teams have successfully integrated alien faster-than-light drives into 47 human vessels. The drives do not work exactly as designed, but they work well enough. This was typical of human engineering. They did not need to understand alien technology perfectly. They just needed to make it do what they wanted. Sir, another officer reported, we are receiving messages from species across the galaxy. Many of them want to ally with us against the three empires. How many? 23 species so far. Most were enslaved or conquered by our enemies. They see this as their chance for freedom. Minho felt a strange emotion. When the alien fleets first attacked Earth, he thought humanity was fighting for survival. Now he realized they were fighting for something much larger. They were fighting for freedom itself. At Proxima Centauri, Dongwu's attack was going better than expected. The Shadowkin had never imagined that primitive humans could strike so far from their home world. The base defenses were designed to stop other advanced species, not ships that fought like humans. Yunji, Dongwu called to his chief engineer. What is the status of our special weapons? Yunji looked up from her console with a wide grin. She had spent the last few hours modifying human nuclear missiles with Shadowkin targeting systems and machine confluence propulsion units. Ready, Captain. These missiles will be unlike anything the enemy has seen before. Fire. The hybrid missiles streaked toward the Shadowkin base. They moved faster than normal human weapons, but slower than advanced alien weapons. The base defense systems tried to intercept them, but failed because they were programmed to stop either very fast or very slow missiles. Not something in between. The nuclear explosions lit up the darkness around Proxima Centauri. Base shields are down, reported the tactical officer. All ships attack, Dongwu ordered. The human fleet swarmed the damaged base. They used captured alien weapons to destroy the station's weapon systems. Then they began something that confused the surviving Shadowkin defenders. Instead of destroying the base completely, the humans were stealing everything valuable and rescuing alien prisoners. Captain, the Shadowkin base commander transmitted. What are your terms for surrender? Dongwu thought about this. In normal space warfare, conquering enemies either enslaved their prisoners or executed them. But humans had different ideas. Our terms are simple, he replied. Stop attacking Earth, free all your slaves. Never again try to conquer peaceful worlds. And if we refuse, then we will visit every Shadowkin world in the galaxy and make the same offer to your people directly. There was a long silence. Finally, the Shadowkin commander spoke again. You would attack our homeworlds? We would liberate them, Dongwu corrected. Just like we are liberating this base. In the Wolf system, Jiwan was having similar success against machine confluence facilities. The robot ships could not understand why humans would travel so far from Earth just to rescue alien slaves. The AI controlling the facility kept demanding to know what strategic advantage humans gained by freeing prisoners. There is no strategic advantage, Jiwan replied honestly. We do it because it is the right thing to do. The AI spent several minutes trying to process this answer. In its databases, there was no record of any species that fought wars based on moral principles rather than tactical advantage. While the AI was confused, human Marines stormed the facility and freed 300 alien prisoners. Each freed prisoner became a potential ally in the growing fight against the three empires. Near Vega, Kyungsu and his space Marines had discovered something that made them very angry. The Void Hunter prison camps were not just holding captured soldiers. They were holding civilian families, including children. Sir, one of his Marines reported, the prisoners say they have been here for years. Some of the children were born in captivity. Kyungsu felt his anger turn cold and hard. Change of plans, Marines. We are not just rescuing these people. We are shutting down every Void Hunter slave operation we can find. Sir, that could take months. Then it takes months. No child should grow up in a cage. This was something the aliens could not understand. Most species fought wars for territory, resources, or political power. Humans seemed to fight wars because they did not like injustice. Back on Earth, Darwin was working on her most ambitious project yet. She had been analyzing the communication systems of all three alien empires. She discovered that they all used a central network to coordinate their fleets across the galaxy. If I can hack into this network, she thought, I can cause chaos throughout their entire military structure. She had already written virus programs that confused individual ships. Now she was creating something much more powerful. A virus that would make every alien military computer think it was under attack by its own allies. Sir, she reported to Minho, I am ready to upload the master virus. But once I do this, there is no going back. It will cause massive confusion throughout 3-star empires. Do it, Minho ordered without hesitation. Daeun activated her program. Across the galaxy, alien military networks began receiving false reports. Shadowkin fleets thought they were being attacked by machine confluence forces. Robot ships identified Void Hunter vessels as priority targets. Void Hunter commanders believed their telepathic abilities were being jammed by Shadowkin technology. Within hours, the three empires were fighting each other on dozens of different worlds. Sir, an officer reported to Minho, we are receiving surrender offers from 17 different alien commanders. They want to negotiate peace treaties. What should we tell them? Minho thought about this carefully. Humanity had started this day as the target of 3 hostile empires. Now they were in a position to dictate terms to their enemies. Tell them we will consider peace treaties, but only if they agree to 3 conditions. First, they must free all their slaves and prisoners. Second, they must stop attacking or conquering other species. Third, they must pay compensation to every world they have damaged. And if they refuse? Minho looked at the tactical displays showing human ships across the galaxy. Each group was small, but they were everywhere. The aliens could not predict where humans would strike next because humans themselves did not know. They simply attacked wherever they found injustice. If they refuse, Minho said quietly, then we continue fighting until they change their minds. For the first time in galactic history, 3-star empires were being forced to negotiate with a species they had tried to destroy. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was just getting started.